Hello, hello, Debianites. Welcome to the first talk after lunch. So in this talk, we have Héctor here. He's a Debian contributor for more than 20 years and a DB for more than 15. So I think you are in good hands, and he will do this talk that is Debian, a community for all beyond technology. So let's welcome him again.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. I hope you enjoy the talk. I'll start. So Debian is a community. So what's a community? We're like a family. We're a long group of volunteers dedicating our free time to hack and have fun on software, technology, and also we enjoy social activities like being here at the conference. So I hope you enjoy the conference here. So this picture was a DebConf 7. It was in Scotland, and that's why some people went from some kids there. Some of the people couldn't come, maybe they are in the stream, so some others are no longer in Debian, but the community evolved. We're like a big family here. I'm Héctor. As Carlos said, that I've been for Debian developer longer than 15 years already. Started to contribute earlier than that. I'm involved with the Debian system administration. I'm involved with the treasurer team as well. I was porter at some part of the time doing ARM related port. I maintain the build daemon infrastructure. And I'm also part of the software in the public interest, STI. I'm an officer there and treasurer. And this is the legal entity that supports Debian and other open source projects. So today we'll be discussing the foundations of the Debian community, the organization and the structure of the Debian community, fiscal and legal support, and then if we have more time, I'll explain a little bit on the release life cycle of the distribution. We'll discuss a bit of the derivatives and use cases that Debian has a big period. So on the foundations, we'll go into history, discuss social contract, and the Debian free software guidelines. We started at AT&T Labs in the USA. The Bell Labs, this is Ken Thompson and Dennis Ritchie in the picture. And they were building a project to run on some computer before there were computers, and they called this Multi. From that project, they rewrote it and created a system called Unix. And for this system, they created a new language for programming the system, which was a C language. This was around 1960. 1977, fork of this Unix system was created by a university by Berkeley University, and they call it Berkeley Software Distribution, which started BSD. So they started between AT&T and BSD, start some legal fight, like who had the copyright of this system and the other system. And at the same time, the important bit was the hardware. So you deliver hardware, and there was some software that was along this hardware. But the software didn't have too much value. And they were giving you the source code. But at some point, the industry changed, and this guy here, this is Richard Stallman, He was working at a university, and he was wanted to do some changes to a printer driver, and then didn't have the source code. So he asked Xerox, the printer manufacturer, to deliver the source code to him so he could adapt it for his use. But Xerox said that they didn't want to give this source code. Then he was so pissed off, they said, I'll write my own driver, and I'll do whatever I want. And then if I write my driver, and you write your driver, and he writes an application, and we put it all together and share it, then we can have a source code available for all. And he created a project to support this, which is GNU. And then he wrote the GNU manifest and created the Free Software Foundation to support this project. And GNU, it's a recursive three-letter abbreviation, which is recursive, which is GNU is not Unix, so because it was like a copy of Unix, but it was a rewrite. So trying to avoid any copyright conflict. So, well, this happened on the 83, 85, around that part of the. Then a student in the University of Finland in 91 wrote some kernel based on Minix. Minix was an operating system that Andrew Tannenbaum was using to teach their students. And Minix, he copied and created some system. Somebody, he didn't want to really call it Linux, but somebody in the university, when they published it, he gave the name like Linux, put it on an FTP server, and said, okay, we'll call it Linux. It was not clear about the license earlier, but discussing with the GNU people, they adopted the GNU GPL license, and they did the release 099 in year 92. And in year 93, GNU integrated all the applications to work with Linus Torvalds kernel. So more or less, history here. We're starting here with the first Unix, and then there are some branches here, and then this is the branch of BSD, and then from BSD you go down, and you can see all these yellow, orange. It's like mixed shared source code, not entirely clear. You can have some parts of the source code available, but not all. And there were some Unixes here in pink, which is closed source. You don't have access, which is Sun OS, X, running on PowerPC, Xenix, System 5, Solaris, HPUX. And on the BSD line, there was the next step, which was Mac OS, sorry. And then from BSD, there are FreeBSD, NetBSD, OpenBSD. Then here on parallel, there was a Linux system in parallel with Linux. And Linux been open source all the time. So now we're getting into Debian. So GNU and Linux joined together, and they needed to distribute this software somehow. And somebody put together some scripts called SLS. Later, this became Slackware. But Ian Murdoch, the guy here, he was pissed off with SLS. He didn't like it. So he created his own packaging system. And he named it after his wife's name, Deborah, and his name, Ian. That was Debian. So GNU saw this, and the FSF say, oh, we should give a year of a sponsorship and try to support this project, because very interested. So they really put a lot of care into developing the design of the Debian system and encoding all the metadata information and compilation instructions into the Debian packaging format. Then, and that was around 93. Ian wrote a Debian manifesto and delegated most of the technical core development to this other guy here, which is Bruce Perens. And he took part of the system core of the development. And Bruce used to work for Pixar. He was an animation company, now part of Walt Disney. And the first servers that hosted the Debian mailing lists were inside Pixar. And that also gave the name of the Debian releases. They were named after Toy Story characters, which was being developed by this company. So all Debian releases names are based on Toy Story and Pixar. And Bruce wrote the Debian social contract, which later was adopted by the open source initiative. The Debian social contract has these 5 points here. Right? The Debian will remain 100% open and free. We will contribute to the free software community. We're not hiding any problems. Our priorities are our users, and we need to meet free software standards. No problem. Let's have a seat, please. So then we have the free software guidelines, which is every Debian developer attached to them. And you can read in these pages here the freeware distribution. We have the source code, the library works, integrity of the author's code. We don't discriminate against persons or groups. No discrimination about any of endeavor. We distribute the license, and the license might not be specific to Debian. We must not contaminate other software. Then we have some example of licenses which are good to follow, like GPL, BSD, and now you can go to SPDX, and they have a big collection of licenses which are more or less the open source. And this is, we're talking, all this became also the open source definition. So the open source was derived from the Debian Free Software Guidelines, and they created a group, the Open Source Initiative. And then many enterprise companies joined to work in this environment. So I have some game, kind of. So we have free software, we have open source, we have proprietary thing, software. Back in the days that we were discussing, we had the Linux. Linux was kind of an open source project at OSI. This is GNU. The GNU was free software, and then joining these two, we had Debian, and that was free software, open source. So we got FLOSS, like free, libre, open source software, and there was some proprietary software which you could not access to code, like Macintosh, Commodore, Atari, Amiga, Microsoft. And then new players, Modern Knight, Linux, GNU, Debian, still there. Appear Python, cloud providers, mobile devices, productivity tools. More and more players start working on the open source, using free software, building their own proprietary. Now we have AI products built on top of this. So at the end, all these companies, projects, take all the data, keep it, and we have to be careful with this because we want to embrace our freedom and liberty. So you are good to build on top of Linux, Debian, GNU, but you have to be aware of keeping your freedom. There have been some presentations where, yeah, I'm building free software. I have my code is in GitHub, but it runs on this cloud, and you have to use the bindings, libraries provided by this cloud, and the code is not working on my computer. This is not free software. So we have to be careful with this kind. So Debian, this kind of source code is not allowed in Debian by these licenses. I'm moving to the next section. Let's discuss about organization, teams, and infrastructure of Debian. So how we organize this Debian constitution. One of the first unique projects that we have a constitution, social contract, so on. And this constitution explains about the DPL role. This year, Andreas, the new DPL, so reach out to him. He'll be happy to talk to you. It's elected every year by the Debian community, by voting, and represents the project externally and oversees project work. Then we have a project secretary, which oversees the project administration, he calls for votes, and ensures the constitutional compliance. It's court. I'm not sure if he's here, but he's around the conference as well. We also have treasurers, which manage project finances. I'm part of this team. And then we have not part of constitution, but part of the organization. We have a release team, which is in charge of delivering the Debian releases, ensuring that all the QA, all the bugs we have enough quality to go out into our users. We have development teams which are taking care of different parts, components of the system. In the previous talk was like a discussion of Python, Golang, Rust, compiler toolchain, and many other components. So we have working groups focusing on tasks like security or accessibility, looking after blind people, or we have translators, like trying to conquer the world, translating the OS for everyone. When Debian was one of the first systems that you could run on your own language in many places when proprietary operating systems were not delivering there for minorities. So this is very proud of this. We have circles of interest. If you're interested on Python, there's a Python group. You can join them. You are an expert on any language. There's a place for you in Debian. That's the strength of this community. So you will start contributing. You are a Debian member. You are contributing to the project. And then we have also people who help the project, not officially, which are collaborating with Debian, the contributors, collaborators. So some of the development teams, the core parts, we have some people taking care of the bootloader. We have a team that creates the images. It's called the CD team. We have a Debian installer team, which takes care of the installation of Debian. We have a D package, which takes care of installing packages, and APT as well. We have FTP masters, which are in charge of the archive, putting together all the packages and delivering these packages worldwide. We have kernel team, which is also taking care of the Debian kernel, so we are able to run on many different kind of computers and system servers embedded. There's a wide range of systems. Release team we already talked, security team, webmasters are taking care of the website. So you can see there's like a lot of people involved. This is would be very hard to do it by yourself. On the infrastructure side, and we have DSA, the system administrators, and they take care of the core part of the Debian infrastructure. So ensure that systems are secure, packages are built in a secure environment, so we are secure and not protecting against threats. We also have wanna build maintainers. This is build demons. They are like maintaining the build infrastructure. Then you have an architecture which is not yet officially supported. We have Debian ports, which is for the unofficial architectures. Like we thought this was not going to be widely used, but every year we have a new architecture coming. Somebody is working on bootstrapping, they keep maintaining legacy architectures. So if you count the official and non-official architecture, we have more than 20 architectures nowadays. Then we have now what is called Salsa. Salsa is where my Debian source version control infrastructure is set up, which is a GitLab instance, and is becoming more and more critical in Debian operations. Then these are more core technical things, but there are other things which you may say, oh, I don't think I fit in those. Those are very specialized. Then you want to work on accessibility. That's another area of interest. You can do art also, create graphics for Debian. You can do legal stuff and advise the project on legal matters. We have a mentors project which helps new contributors to integrate into Debian. Packaging teams, which are handling on the software packaging. We have QA practices, so we have different QA systems that are checking, verifying that everything is running and no regressions are introduced. We have Debian Women, which is an effort to promote the participation of women in Debian. This team would need more love nowadays. It was more active in the past. So I see more women come, but I think if they kind of try to gather more women, that would be excellent. So we have Debian Edu, Debian GIS, Debian Med, Debian for juniors, for kids. So any of these things of interest, you can participate. The development infrastructure. As we discussed, we have Salsa, where source code is script, build daemons, which are building the software, FTP, when the archive is called, and this archive is mirrored across the world through the mirrors, and then images are created through the CD team. So this is us. Some of us here, developers, and these are the final users, some of the people coming here, and we developers upload to the FTP archive, and this sends a signal to database system, which is called WannaBuild, and build daemons, which is a specific hardware, take the source from this, builds it, and sends it to a package repository. The package repositories we target our end users. Also generate social media, images, and so on. So communication. How you communicate with the project. We have main communication ways, mailing lists. You can check the website. There's also wiki, Debian.org. We have social or more live communication through IRC. And there is also some social media that we have present on some of the social media, but not very strong there. Support infrastructure, you're looking for support in Debian, then you can check out the tracker, the tracking system. We call it the BTS. Debian BTS is bugs.debian.org. And then also mentors program where you can start with packaging and load your first packages there. And then some developer will review and if it's hash quality not, make some comments. When it's hash quality, then upload Debian. So that's more or less Debian organization structure, but we also need some fiscal and legal support. So we call this, we are relying on trusted organizations, and currently we have somewhere in the public interest, which is a US nonprofit. We have Debian France, which is an association in France, and we have Debian Switzerland, Debian CA. So this is SPI. I'm part of the board and treasurer of SPI as well. So it has not only Debian, but other projects are associated here. There's also Milan here from SPI. So if you have a project, you want to discuss, join, or you have questions, you can also reach out to us. Debian France is an association dedicated only to Debian, as well as Debian Swiss. So you go to this site, you have the articles of association, bylaws, and so on. Okay, I hope my day was not too boring. So I'll go into more fun stuff. So I'll have a discussion on the release cycle, some of the Debian derivatives, so you can see what's the scope or how the reach out that Debian has. And then we'll discuss some previous use cases of Debian. Okay, so release cycle. It's been outdated. This diagram has not been updated, but essentially upstream application sources are there, and they should be Debian.org repositories, and we have what we call unstable type, or it's also called SID. SID is this guy from Toy Story, which is making all the toys. So this is all development. And beginning from this that we're migrating into making a stable directory. At some point here, about 90, before 2000, testing area was created. This is the stabilization area for the distribution. So containers, load packages to C or unstable, and then after all the QA processes, it is migrated into the testing area. And after this testing has been stabilized and release managers are happy with it, they produce like a stable release. And this is more the final release. But this is maybe not the thing you want to run on your computer. This is more conservative users and servers. Something you want to be very stable, don't touch. Only security fixes, something is not going to bang, not going to run. are not anything shady, I would really recommend to run testing. It's for general users. You get updates, get latest versions of software, and you are more up to date. And you have more risk to break your system. Then you are really into it. Then you're a user, you're a developer, you probably want to run unstable. And that's where the fun part is. And your system will be paid. One day you have to fix it. Maybe not good for productivity. Then we have experimental on top of here. So if you want to do a transition, like now we change the compiler version, we're going to rebuild Debian with the new version of the compiler and see what fails. It goes into experimental. You have a new version of the so if you are not sure, you should go into the you don't want to really upload the template distribution. This goes into experimental. Experimental is not a complete set of packages. You have to install the package manually, the one you want with install. Here we have a nice tab. It goes on the developers base, 400. There were no cleanups of there were like traded accounts, they were like accumulating, they were always growing. But at some point, after Moody, there was introduced accounts of people not paid for retiring them. Thousand, it's been more or less like there. I think we are around 1,500. We're more or less not all of them active. They have an account. Around packages. Nowadays we have almost 3,000 packages, source packages. But I think 38,000 source packages. I really 1,000 people were maintaining care of 38,000 packages. And they want more to Debian. So it was exhausting the resources. So there was some amazing implementation, the clear processor, package, something else. It's how to remove the distribution. Not only add packages, but also look with the parts that are not used that are obsolete. And with this work, many people are able to adapt Debian for their own case. This is the so we have some with a lot of users. Well, Linux, we tried to keep up with this in a census derivative, but we could not maintain it. Now it's currently inactive. But we try to collect information. If you have a Debian derivative, it's good that you add information here if you want, but it's not very active right now. But it's good to have this information. And then let's go into curious use cases of Debian. So Debian, thanks to this license where you are able to run Debian anywhere. You are like in a desert island or in a polar science expedition in the Antarctica, or you're running Debian in the international spaceship, or providing secure privacy, or Debian in the moon. So this is my friend Carlos Pina, Carles, and he went on a trip to the Antarctic, to Cape Town, and went around collecting data on a ship, and he was like gathering, he's a scientist, so he was gathering some samples, and these are some of the places he visited there. But you can imagine how network is in this situation. No good phone connection, no good Ethernet, no good Wi-Fi, right? They had some satellite connection, very small. So they were using Debian, and he had a box here collecting packages, and he had a database. So it was very helpful for him to reach out to his own mirror and install whatever Python packages he needed to do his job, and draw this chart here, the information. So that's thanks to Debian, he was able to do this work. And also, yeah, this was very old system. I think this was Edge, and this was probably many years later. Edge was already obsolete, but we have a copy in the archive of the Edge distribution, so he was able to install those packages from that day. Then this public news that Debian was adopted to run in the International Space Station. So that's another curious case. You can see here in the back, in the NASA system running Debian Squeeze logo image. So they are really using it there. Sorry. And then also provides secure privacy, because this is Edward Snowden. He was NSA whistleblower and advocate for free and open source software, and he used Tor, Tails, which is a Debian derivative, to provide anonymity for communications, and ensure he was able to do whatever he wanted in a secure way. And then there's a paper here. There are robots that are running Debian that are planned to be shipped to the moon. So I added some references here in the presentation, and then I'd like to thank our sponsors and all the attendees for coming here and meet the Debian family. And if you have any questions, I think we have about 5 minutes, so I'll be happy to answer this. It was very clear then. Okay, reach out to me. I'm around the conference. You have any discussion, I'm happy to get involved while I'm here. So thank you all.